party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. And this week on the show, I am joined by Rose for a game of Good Strong Hands. Good Strong Hands, currently on Kickstarter, check the show notes for a link, is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game about fantastic creatures and their human allies battling to save the world of Reverie from destruction by the faceless, malevolent force of the Void. It is inspired by stories like The Neverending Story, The Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, all stories that are very close to my heart. It is very whimsical and fantastical and wonderful, but with a real sense of, like, resisting corruption and resisting, and fighting against evil and standing up for what is right and what is just. It's dope. It's a really fun game. I had a great time playing it. I can't wait for you to hear it. I think you're really going to dig it. It is currently on Kickstarter. It is already funded. Go check the show notes for a link. Go back the game. Go get your own copy. It's great. I can't recommend it enough. Check the show notes for more information. Rose is a role player, a podcaster, a mental health advocate, the host of What Was I Saying? Living with ADHD, a podcast that explores the challenges and blessings of ADHD as it relates to everyday life, as well as a guest on a variety of other RPG streams and podcasts. You can find all of Rose's links and all of her information in the show notes. One real quick note before we dive in that this episode is brought to you by the Lullaby Lounge. The Lullaby Lounge, which airs every Tuesday at 8 p.m., is my favorite weekly live stream by a wide margin. Hosted by Kate Nix, award-winning polymath of stage and stream, the Lullaby Lounge is, the best way I can describe it, is like a musical variety show every week with singing and dancing and music and puppets and characters and banter and just, it is a wonderful experience that I watch every week and it makes me happy. And so I would like for you to watch it as well because I think it will make you happy. If wonderful music with incredible production values and just a really great time sounds like a good time to you, because I think it does to me, go to twitch.tv/KateNix, follow. Tuesdays at 8, there's a replay Thursdays at 4, which is usually what I watch because it's Thursday at 4 p.m. I'm sitting at work. I can pop on, listen to some music, hang out. It's great. I love it. You can find a link in the show notes for more information. And with all that said, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I am so excited to be sitting down with Rose. Rose, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. This is going to be fun. I'm really, we've been talking through character stuff for the game, and I've read through the game, and I think this is going to be very, very fun. I'm very, very excited.
It's going to be such a great adventure. I'm hyped.
Good. That makes two of us. I'm feeling the energy. This is going to be great. Real quick, before we jump into our game, why don't you take a minute to tell the lovely listeners at home anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
All right. So in general, I'm an actor, improviser, content creator, and just like big nerd. But one
Same.
of them, yeah. So one of the main things that I've been working on is I'm a mental health advocate and neurodiversity advocate. So I produce and record and edit and do social media and stuff for this podcast called What Was I Saying? Living with ADHD. And it's basically day-to-day, we talk about different topics, and it's not medical advice. Neither of us are doctors, but it's really just about building a community and showing everybody that struggles with mental health, ADHD, any type of neurodiversities, that we're not alone. And while I am actually currently taking a break from that just because life got a bit overwhelming, the podcast is still going, and we've got a lot of really fun topics and episodes. We do challenges where we do things like gardening or taking the SAT from like 30 bajillion years ago, which is not fun, but can be a funny episode.
I can't imagine that's an enjoyable experience.
But we do it because it's just a cool experiment. So definitely check that out. And you can find, I have a Twitter. So you can find me on Twitter at SmileyRosie with 4 Y's at the end. And I has info about all of the little things that I do.
Fantastic. So this week, we are playing Good Strong Hands by Craig Campbell. It is, at the time of this episode's release, currently on Kickstarter. So you can find a link to that in the show notes. Go back it and play it. The premise of this game, I'm just going to read it straight from the book because I feel like it does a good job of summing it up. Many ages have passed in the land of Reverie. Kingdoms rose and fell. Folk came to power and then lost that power. Populations swelled, moved, changed, and settled into familiar realms. Scholars have long believed Reverie is a world of cycles. These cycles are seen in the rise and fall of kingdoms, the migrations of animals, the change in seasons, the growth of populations, and in their eventual demise. And it is true, Reverie is a world of cycles, and an important cycle is about to begin again. Many important events mark Reverie's history, but none is more important than the arrival of the Void. This faceless, malevolent force is entropy and destruction incarnate. Once every few centuries, it rises, threatening to destroy Reverie. The void constantly creeps at the edge of Reverie. It is a slithering, nasty void, and it reaches out, straining to touch every part of the world. Its tendrils have once again started to eat away at the edges of Reverie. If the void wins, it will consume this world. It will turn trees to ash. It will render mountains into swamp. It will snuff out all light and bring only itself, only nothingness to the world of creation. Reverie begins a new cycle. It is one where the void will either consume or destroy the world, or it will be stopped by heroes like you.
Dun, dun, dun.
Big
So
music
good.
swell. This is a game of very kind of fairy tale, sort of labyrinth, dark crystal, Narnia-esque fantasy of heroes of all walks of life over defending a world of magic from an overwhelming wave of nothingness.
So good.
I'm really excited. I'm really, really
It's going to
excited.
be great.
It's going to be real good. So, why don't you take a moment, now that we've met the world, introduce us to your character, to your adventurer.
Okay. So my character is with the sky spirit, or the sylph, which is one of the playbooks for good strong hands. She uses she, her pronouns. She basically just kind of looks like a translucent, tall, windy, maybe like lightly colorful, like purple, shimmery blue, violet kind of colors, just like shifting air. Like if you're not paying that close attention, it would really just look like a ripple on a brick wall. And yeah, so she's a kind of a loner. She's one of the mechanics of the games is they have fears. So one of her fears is like that she would get hurt by somebody or be rejected, kind of. So she just tends to avoid people in general, even though wind spirits often travel together. Normally, you don't just see one gust of wind in the tree. There's usually others that follow, but she tends to be a little bit of a loner. And she also, her other fear, because she is kind of made of air, she does have a bit of a strong aversion to things that smell very strong, because like, I mean, they just like become a part of her and it's just like all filling.
It's unpleasant.
Very unpleasant to be in an odorous room. And that's like any type of odor. Like it could be something gross, or it's like that lady has really strong perfume and I hate it.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's relatable content, you know?
Yeah. So, sylph are tall, slender, and translucent. You fly like the wind, quick and strong. Your mind swings between extremes of emotion almost on a whim. You are hard to pin down physically and emotionally. As you mentioned, you are sort of a loner, a wanderer. Let me ask you at the very start of our story, who is chasing you and why? We see Sylph on the wind. We get like a sweeping shot of a big forest, big crystalline trees. We get a big sweeping shot, and among them, kind of reminiscent of like the speeder bike chase from Star Wars, that sort of first person perspective. We get perspective of Sylph being chased. Who is chasing? What magical folk or creature or what is chasing you, or who is chasing you and why?
I think she's being chased by an evil water spirit type of thing, like water being. And the reason she's being chased is because that being wants to create a very destructive storm and is capturing wind spirits in order to do that.
So I will say at the start of this, this is the grand climax in this chase scene, right? Like you have just
Mm-hmm.
at this moment, Sylph has freed the other air spirits, and this water being, this sort of kind of a, hold on, I need to, kind of a muck, like think of a muck from Pokemon, big kind of mud, like mud and water, and is just like sloshing and is kind of grabbing at you at this on this coastline, and is splashing among trees and like chasing after you. It is trying to drag you into the lake because you have a heart and a destiny greater than the other spirits that you have rescued, and it wants to drag you down almost out of vengeance.
That's
However,
upsetting.
I'm pretty sure you're able to escape this chase without harm.
Yeah, I have a talent called Speck of the Wind, which the talent is you are incredibly fast. You always catch what you're chasing and can't be caught by someone or something chasing you. Uh, Not even a red cap, uh, which is another type of creature that lives in the
So,
world.
what does it look like as you effortlessly escape this water being?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the she's flying like close to the surface of the water, and it's rippling under her, and then like behind her it's rippling from the force of the beast, from the
Mm-hmm.
creature, and and they're like darting along the coastline, um and I do think it's like a close call because they're both in their element, right? Like
Yeah,
if the water creature is in the water, it's faster than anything else could possibly be in the water. But as an air
and
spirit,
it could be anywhere around that lake. Like it can just like rise up in one kind of try to grab you in one fluid motion, and you're able to like effortlessly slip out of its grasp.
yeah, and I think there's like a couple of like moments where that happens. Like it comes up in various shapes, various harmful shapes, and various like it's almost like darting through an obstacle course, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like she's even like having a little bit of fun with it, because she kind of knows that like she can get away. But then eventually, she just like tricks it into trying to go on land. Like they're gathering speed, gathering speed, gathering speed. And then in like a final moment when like she knows it won't be able to stop itself, she dives like towards the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And in its attempt to get onto the beach, it it's not as fast anymore, and it like starts to sink into the dirt and
Mm.
sand.
And I think at this moment, like the other sylphs that you freed, like swirl around you and collectively, like kind of carry you up through the trees, like as a sort of mutual gesture of support. Like all of you collectively form one of those little like foresty leaf tornadoes. You know, the ones where it's like not a
Ooh.
whole, like you like collectively the leaves are swirling among you, and you all lift up through the trees, and there's this moment where like leaves over the canopy of the forest like burst out in an explosion, and all of the sylphs kind of dance on the clouds. And this is the first time you get a notice of this like group of sylphs. They are all holding various like instruments, and one of them's holding a tambourine and a little I don't remember the name of the little handheld harp, but one of them is holding the little handheld harp.
Like a lute?
Kind
No,
of like a lute, yeah.
that's a I don't know my fantasy instruments very well.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
Like
do. I'm picturing it.
one of them is holding a lute, and they've all got these instruments, and they're kind of gleefully dancing around. There's a lot of like they're wearing a lot of like festive beads and ribbons, and they're all very kind of decked out for like a celebration. And one of them, I think the youngest looking of them, kind of swirls around you and giggles and is like, "So where to next, traveler?"
Um Whiff kind of shrugs, and like as like there's a lot of commotion, like there's like dust in the air so you can see like the outline of all of them. Um and so she just kind of shrugs and says, I don't know. Wherever the wind may take me, I guess.
And I think they kind of they sort of float backwards, and they're like, um, well, if you make your way to Tollin's verse, that's where the gang and I are headed. My name is Phone, by the way. Phone. They smile and they're like, we're headed to Tollin's verse. They're hosting the storytelling festival, the music and poetry and stories and everything. I mean, it's gonna be magical. You've never heard something quite as wonderful as every musician in Reverie playing their song at the same time, and that music echoing out through the world.
That
And I think
sounds magnificent.
and I think with that, like they giggle a little bit, and they're like, well. You can come with us or you can come on your own, but I don't think this is something that you'd want to miss. And they all kind of start to, as a group, like they do the thing where they start kind of they're sylphs, so they're floating and they're flying and they're kind of floating amongst each other like fish in the air, but
Mm-hmm.
like they're clearly doing it slowly to like leave the decision of whether you come with them or you go after them up to you. You know the thing
Yeah.
where you kind of consciously walk slow, where you're like, you're gonna come or not.
Yeah. And I think like they're walking slowly and then when the character turns around again,
Mm-hmm.
Whiff is gone.
I love it. And you've disappeared, and we cut to Tollin's verse. It is very like it's all very. Let's see what do we think? What town aesthetic pops into your head at this moment? Like what's the look? What's the look of the village like?
So town aesthetic.
Yeah,
Maybe like I mean, is it I think maybe like party town vibes, but like
yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah, and like visually, I picture. I don't know, like the Ewok village popped into my head. I think as I referenced Star
Yeah.
Wars earlier. So it's like, yeah, it's like tree huts, and they're like it's like elaborate tree houses, and they're connected by like tunnels and kind of for lack of a better way to put it, like there are train tracks between sort of tree houses.
Mhm.
And everything is covered in ribbons, the same kind of ribbons and beads and bells, and it's all very decked out. Like it is everything has little pieces hanging from it. Everything has little bits of decoration hanging from it, and it is all very elaborately decorated.
I have can I add something?
Yeah, please,
I
always.
think it's like one of those towns where like when you walk through the street, it doesn't matter where you are, there's always some kind of music playing, but like they can
Mm,
be vastly different. Like
yeah.
you know
Oh
how
yeah.
sometimes when you walk down like a subway area, there's like people playing
Hmm.
in the tunnels and stuff like that. So like you'd walk past one and it would echo for just long enough until you get to the next one.
Yes, very much so. I love, yeah, that's a very specific aesthetic that is very close to my heart. So thank you for that. Um, I'm gonna ask you one question because Tolan's verse is fairly well known. Like this is a place that you've heard of before. You know the legend of Tolan and their verse. Who was Tolan?
um I think Tollin was a fawn,
Mm,
which is another type of
mm-hmm.
character in the game, which is basically it's like a half goat person,
Mm-hmm.
that with a penchant for performance. And I think that Tolan was a fawn that broke the stereotype of fawns, which is like that they're like very um, haughty and like, or performers,
Mm,
fawn performers, that they're like haughty and kind of like rolling in money from their art and like all of
yeah.
that stuff. But Tolan like wrote music that spoke to people's hearts.
I love that. The musical aesthetic, the musical that I hear that is very it's very a little bit bluegrassy, but it's very specifically just like big band.
Mm-hmm.
of like the kind of thing where like there's just 37 people with different instruments, and like that was
Yes.
the kind of music that Tollin wrote, was very much like, you know, we're good. Jam band, I think, is a good way to
Mm-hmm.
describe it. Of like bring the instrument that you have, and and like so that the music is very expansive. And I think the magic of it is exactly what Phone described. Of like every, once everyone gathers for this like this concert, you can hear the music anywhere in the world. Like that, all of those music blur together, and for a brief moment, they are perfectly in sync, and it's all one like harmony,
Yeah.
and you can hear it anywhere in the world.
And feel it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. That said, so what is going through Whiff's mind when you arrive in Tolan's verse, and the noise that you hear is the sound is the hollow hum and slight tinny screech of a subway car creaking through a tunnel. And that is the only sound you hear. And it is heavy, it is pervasive and echoing, and it's just that like that hollow hum with that slight metally like screech underneath. And
Mm. Mm.
that's it. Like you hear no animals, you hear no sounds of footsteps, you just hear hollow hum, metal creak.
Well, the visual is definitely like rippling air, like when you can
Mm-hmm.
see like the heat coming off of a boiling water, kind of like that image. Um uh but Whiff is just like, I think she just feels like cold wash over her.
Mm.
Um and she probably ducks behind something like just by instinct,
Mm-hmm.
before peering around to take a closer look, before like traversing the walls or traversing like the border of the of the village or the town.
And I think as you look around, I'm going to call this a challenge. I think you're trying to get a handle. You're trying to
Ooh.
and do a little bit of investigation. I'm going to call this a challenge. All right, so
Challenge.
here we go. Let me find the actual rules. This is my note that it's edited. All right, so you are going to make a trait check. Trait checks are how you want to, what you want to do when you are accomplishing something.
Hmm.
This is when you are trying to accomplish something significant. What I will say is there will be consequences for failure here, and those consequences will be that your snooping, you'll find information, but your snooping around will be noticed. Is how I will
Okay.
describe it on a
Yeah.
failure. I will say this is probably a mind check, because this is mental, intellectual, this is knowledge, reasoning, wisdom, senses.
Yeah.
And so you're going to roll a number of six-sided dice equal to your mind trait.
Yeah. Um, I have 3, and I think I'm gonna stick with that. Because it doesn't feel like, it's not like a sticky situation at this point.
Yeah, I think that feels right.
Yeah. All right, here we
And
go.
I'm gonna set the target number is 4. I don't think this is particularly difficult. Like I don't think you're being actively looked for. So
Yeah.
we'll stick with a number of 4. I could up that to 5 or 6 if it was particularly challenging,
Mhm.
but I think we'll stick with 3 for now. We'll stick with 3 dice at a difficulty of 4.
Okay, that sounds good to me. All right, here we
And
go.
so
First roll.
you're gonna roll those dice, and what you want is for one or more of those dice to roll a 4 or better.
Okay. All right, this is it. First roll. I got a 5. That's better than 4. But that's it. That's all I got. That's the
You
only
got one
good one I
5?
got. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually ideal. That's actually perfect. You may mark one spirit. Spirit is your spirit. It is how sort of intensely you are, how sort of empowered you are and heroic you are, and like your ability to recover from wounds and resist the void and do all of these wonderful things. You have succeeded at your task exactly. Describe how you are sneaking around and how you avoid being how Describe to me exactly what you want and how you want to find it out.
Oh, okay. I want to find out um where all the music is.
Okay.
Like what happened to the
Okay.
festival.
Yeah. So what you are able to find.
Slash also where all the people are. But mostly the music.
So you're able to find people very quickly.
Oh,
You're able to
okay.
find people very quickly. You actually see some folk walking around. It is a fawn and a brownie
Okay.
are strolling. The fawn is wearing a gigantic tuba, and the brownie is holding two of the is holding some maracas, and
Mhm.
they're wandering and they're talking and they're shaking them, and all you hear, and they're shaking the maracas, and you see the fawn like blow hard into the tuba, and nothing. Hollow hum, screech of metal, coupled with the sound of like when you're underwater and like there are waves under the water and they kind of float by your ears.
Mm.
That sort
Yeah.
of you hear that kind of like underwater ripple sound. And like there are clearly people around, right? Like you see like you're floating around, you see like a human wearing like a leather jacket and jeans and combat boots is sitting in a tree and is like writing on a paper and like kind of like looks around and like says something, and it's just more of that kind of ripple effect noise. It is clear that there are people here. It is clear that people came here for the concert, and something, it has to be related to the void, has magically like blocked out the noise in the world.
do the do the people seem to know that that's happening, or do they?
Yeah,
So
they
they
do. Everyone, yeah, they definitely seem to know. Like you're watching this brownie and this fawn, and they blow, and they're just crestfallen, right? Like it's clearly they're clearly like doing their instruments, hoping that they can change something, and like you feel in your heart as much as anyone's the disappointment that comes with that knowledge that like there simply is no sound here. There's no music. There's no that it's and it's this feeling of like there should be music here and it is being overtaken, right? Like it is that, like you being air, like you said, like you can feel it, right? Like you could feel it like rippling on the wind. You being air, like you can feel the vibrations on the wind. So it's not even so much, and so it's not even so much that there is not sound, it's just that like this hollow hum is somehow louder than everything. It's not causing you pain, but it has simply drowned out every other sound.
okay. Uh, that's sad. Okay.
That's what you're here to stop.
Yeah.
That's the obstacle.
All right. So, I think that the next thing that I want to do is try to talk to one of the musicians, maybe, but like look for one that doesn't isn't surrounded by people or like in a band or anything like that. Preferably like a young or one that maybe is like a kid aged musician. That's very specific.
Yeah, it's very specific, which honestly I like because it helps me create a character in my head immediately. You are able to very quickly find uh, a wildkin, which is half fey and half small woodland creature. There is
Okay.
like a literal kid musician, which is to say like a child goat musician. Um, like
Oh, that's
banging.
good.
Thank you. Right, I'm proud of that one. Banging cymbals together, and all you're hearing is that kind of ripple effect, but like banging cymbals together and just like throwing a child tantrum because he is banging these cymbals together and it is nothing.
Um, I'm gonna like sit down like near him and like maybe pick up one of the instruments around his feet and like uh, fiddle with it a little bit and kind of just casually like try to insert myself into the tantrum as if like I was always a part of the frustration and like just be like, yeah, man, I'm not very charismatic. So I'm just like, yeah, man, it's just really, it sucks that none of these are working.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because like I'm gonna ask you for a heart roll here
Okay.
because I think what you find when you try to like vocalize your frustration and vocalize your feelings, when you try to lean on your charm a little bit, you find that like what comes out is, and this sounds reasonable for whiff, but it's also odd, is that it is like the sound of like a wind. Like you don't, you go to speak and that hum is all you hear. Like your
Oh,
voice, your words are themselves sort of muffled, and like, so like there's a moment, and I'm going to call this a heart check, where it's going to take like connecting with this person like directly in a non-verbal way to get them to share with you.
yeah. I think, how do I utilize one of my anchors? Can they give me a boost or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I'll call that a boost. Sure,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I was gonna say like, if if I mirror his motion
Yep.
to like show, because one of my anchors is empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of just show that like we're all in the same boat. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll give you an extra dice on that.
yeah.
That's definitely an advantageous situation. So go ahead and roll
Um,
4 dice.
is that a spirit? Does that cost a spirit to do that?
No, that's just you.
Okay.
That's You're actually going to gain a point of spirit for that because you're acting in a way that benefits, that is related to one of your anchors.
Oh, okay, cool. I got how do I spend spirit? We'll have to talk
I
about that after I
I
make
have a
this roll.
whole while you grab your dice together, I can explain.
Okay, I love that.
So here, there are a few things that you can spend spirit on to answer your question. You can spend a point of spirit to avoid marking shadow when you succeed with a boon. When you do really, really well, really, really heroic things in good, strong hands, the void reaches out to you and tries to like worm its way into your mind, and you can use your spirit to like push that away.
Okay.
You can also spend spirit to activate your talents. Some of your talents will require you to spend a point of spirit. You can also spend your
Yeah.
spirit to use minor magic. You being a sylph have access to air magic, so if you ever just want to do something kind of slightly magical with the air, like you can spend a point of spirit to do that.
Okay.
And you can also spend spirit to improve your trait checks. You can spend 1 point of spirit to just add an extra dice to a trait check. Those are your ways to spend spirit during play.
Okay. Am I the only person that can't talk? Like, have I heard other people talking?
You know what? Like you didn't piece it together because you were so focused on the that sort of hum earlier. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
so focused on understanding what happened that you realized that you watched those people talk. You watched those people. I won't say talk, but like try to talk at one another and like clearly like not communicate.
Okay. Oh, nuts. Okay, I got my dice.
All right, give me those. Give me those dice.
What's the difficulty, I guess?
The difficulty here, we'll say, is a 5. No, we'll call this a 4. I don't think this is a 5.
Okay, cool. Rolling away. Ooh, I got 3 over 4.
Okay, great. So anytime you roll more than one success, here's what's going to happen. You got 2 or more successes, which means you get success with a boon. You have done something extremely heroic. Like you have exceptionally succeeded at your task. You may describe how you go above and beyond. I will walk you through what that means, because as this happens, I think like as you are mimicking the movements of this tantrum throwing child, and like I think a few other people are starting to notice, and like are starting to just kind of sit back and watch as this is happening. A voice that is different than yours floats on the wind, and not a wind that you're familiar with, because you know the wind.
Mm-hmm.
This wind is not this is not the normal wind, and this voice on the wind is not the normal voice on the wind. So, you want to unite the people. You want to lead the people. You want to rally an army. Is that it? Is that it, hero? You want to gather up a big strong posse and be the gang leader? Is that what you're after, hero? Because we can make that happen. If that's what you want. As the void tempts you for being adept and heroic.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. Would you like to mark one shadow or spend one spirit to resist that?
I think in this context, I think that I would spend a spirit.
Okay.
Um,
How do you brush off the void?
I think as kind of like images, she's playing. I think what's happening is her and the child, like they start out like mimicking. She starts out mimicking him, right? Like his stomps, his head shakes, and then like eventually it becomes like the other way around, and she's like helping him kind of like calm down a little bit. And then when that voice happens, it disrupts that, and the kid starts to tantrum again. But then maybe she just reaches out, just puts a hand out on. She sees the images in her head of like all that power that she could have and how it could possibly be exactly what she needs to fix this situation. But then when she opens her eyes, she sees the kid there and he's throwing the tantrum. And like that's what she realizes, like that's why I was doing this, was to help that one kid not create an army.
And I think as that happens, there's a moment like you focus on the child, and the two of you are in sync, and the two of you are moving together, and he calms down, and the people kind of gather around, and for a moment like he stops and he just smiles at you, and like you kind of like you expect that kind of ripple, you expect that kind of rippling feeling of like hearing, but of like that sort of underwater wave ripple. But then you hear as clear as day, "Hey, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that." And he smiles, and you hear him as clear as day. And suddenly the people around you start to speak, and they can kind of start to hear each other as well. And it's spotty, right? Like it comes and goes. It feels like a phone call with bad reception. Bits of it are dropping out, but like people are hearing each other.
I love that.
So yeah, you have made this connection, and with a little bit of magic and a little bit of empathy, as opposed to sort of fear and isolation, you have sort of overcome a bit of this magical silence.
I think though, as soon as like people start to gather around, Whiff kind of starts to fade into the shadows a little bit.
Ooh, I'm actually going to call this another heart challenge, and I'm going to say this is made with one disadvantage because you are facing your fear.
To like see if I don't do that, or if I can get
to see if because this is sort of your fear. Yeah, you're going to see if you can in this moment if you fully flee, or if you're able to deal with it on your terms.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Ooh, okay. That gives me. So, what does a disadvantage do then?
You take away one dice, so
Okay.
you'd be rolling 2 dice unless you wanted to spend spirit to add dice to that.
I'm going not to. I'm gonna. I think that this is hard still, and it's still early in this event. Like, she's still unsure about this whole like this situation. Is this like the right situation for her to be a hero in? Even though she feels confident in her ability to help people, this is like a very social, heroic thing if she can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just stick with the 2 dice and see see what happens. Okay. Here we go. I got 1-4.
Perfect. You are able to, you succeed. What does it look like? Like you are not overcome with fear.
Okay.
You're
I think,
afraid, but you act anyway. True
yeah.
bravery.
I think she just like takes a deep breath. But I think when a sky spirit takes a deep breath, it's like different than other beings because they are breath.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very like, it's just a really long one that like you can just, for a moment in her mind, there's silence and she can just hear like the calming breath in, breath out. And it seems to extend on for forever. And then she opens her eyes and picks up an instrument and tries to play it.
And I think you do this, and the same hollow hum as you heard before. Like you can speak, but the music has still been taken away. And sure enough, like as soon as you do that, like somebody, I think this human sitting in a tree is like, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. They took everything. And like somebody else like kind of like I think that the brownie kind of throws up a little shout of like, hey, you know what, let her try. And like there's clearly like arguments happening. There's clearly people are clearly scared, and they're clearly frustrated, and they're clearly upset with each other, and no one knows what is happening, and there's clearly tension in the air. And you know, everybody seems to have been around long enough to have heard the music stop, but getting them to reveal what happened might be a challenge.
Yeah. I want to know who they is. So I think with kind of like wherever the human is sitting in a tree, she like leans on the bottom of it, and tries to, I have an ability for this. My 4 winds ability is calming emotions.
Oh damn! I didn't even. That's like this is like a thing in the adventure as written, and I did not even realize you had this ability. Yes, good,
Perfect. Okay.
okay. So you're going to spend an ability, which means that you're going to spend a point of spirit to activate your magical ability, and then tell us what that ability does and what it looks like.
Okay, awesome. So my ability is 4 winds of air magic, and my winds are winds from the east, which allows me to calm emotions. And it doesn't say who I can calm emotions on, whereas one of them says like move incite rage in anyone or condition from anyone. So
It
I'm
just says calm
imagining
emotions.
it's just like a calming aura.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It is that feeling when you step outside after a rain
Yeah.
and like the wind blows, and it's like in the summer and there it's hot, but that cool breeze like brushes over you.
Yeah.
That like flows over the area.
Yeah, so I'm going to spend a spirit to create that that just like feeling of a, or like on a, that like feeling of a cool breeze on a hot day. Kind of.
And I think that like the human hops down, and she kind of looks in your direct, and like she breathes and everybody breathes, and like there's like an argument happening and it settles, and suddenly everyone is calm. Everyone is calm and like sort of smiling and like scared, but like breathing, and sort of gathers around you because you are clearly the center of calm. And
No!
when people are scared, they float to the center of calm.
I don't like it. Okay.
And she says, I can tell you what happened.
I'm listening.
And she's like, do you seem uncomfortable? Do you want to take a walk?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
My name's Christine. What's your name?
Whiff.
with, and like the two of you kind of break away, and everybody is sort of, the everyone is kind of sitting around the child as they're banging on their cymbals. It's not making noise, but everyone is watching, and the child is clearly tickled that people are paying attention to him.
Aww.
And Christina's like, so here's the deal. We don't know what happened. Everyone is scared. Everyone is upset. All we really know is that Trundlehoof took the stage. We were doing our sort of pre-concert talent show, poetry jam, music night, coffee house experience. You know how it is before the big concert. Everybody gets on stage, they do their individual number, and it's fine.
Yes, I totally, of course. I have definitely been to a concert that's right up my alley.
Of course it is. Everybody, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah,
And
so that's like a thing that normal people do. I've definitely done that.
it's you know what? I appreciate the bluff, but you don't have to here. It's fine. I get it.
Okay.
Believe me, I'm not from around here either.
Okay.
Christina says, "It's fine. I'm not from around here either. It's cool." So here's the deal. Before the concert every year, the concert, I'm sure you've heard, it's everybody gets together and we all play the instruments at the same time. Everybody in the world feels it. Everybody in Reverie hears the song. It's awesome. We don't really have anything like it on Earth, wherever I'm from. It's not important. But before that, in the couple days before that, everybody goes up and does their individual thing. It's supposed to be the celebration of like, here's who you are on your own. It's beautiful. And here's who we are together. It's even better. First day of the concert starts. First person walks up. It's Trundlehoof. I guess he's a regular. I don't know. He walks up. He reads a poem. They said that whoever I talked to said that he comes up and he reads this poem every year. And as he's talking, static just starts filling our ears. And suddenly all we hear is static. And like, we can tell we're speaking. Like, it does, but it's just this static is in the air. And we don't know what happened. And everybody got panicked and everybody started pointing fingers and everybody, we couldn't hear what we were saying, but we could tell it wasn't great. And suddenly everybody was angry and suddenly the whole concert was undone. And then you came along. And I guess it took one person being patient to at least cause a little bit of moment of connection, but we're still without the concert.
So people stopped listening to each other and then they stopped hearing each other.
When you put it like that, yeah, that tracks. That sounds right. I gotta get used to this Reverie thing where like words have meaning. It's fine. I like it. I'm really getting into it. And she seems like visibly jazzed when you said that. So what do we do? What's the game plan?
I think I need to talk to Trundlehoof.
Trundlehoof.
Oh, that makes more sense. I think I need to talk to Trundlehood.
All right, we will.
Is he here? Are they here?
You know what? That's a great question. Nobody really knows where he is.
Oh no.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared in the night when everybody was panicking, and nobody's seen him since. But we can talk now, so we'll be happy to help you look if you're interested.
Yeah, I think when is the festival or when does the big event happen? Again, tonight?
Midnight.
Okay. So there is a bit of a time crunch.
You're watching and just as you say that, you watch the sun dip below the horizon line, and you know that you have but a few hours. So I'm going to call this a challenge.
Okay.
I'm going to say this is a challenge 5, or target number 5. I'm going to call this a mind check.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a point of advantage because you have the people of Tollin's verse helping you out. Since
Okay.
people are listening now.
Yeah. I'm gonna roll those. I've got 3 mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll roll that. That's 3 dice plus 1, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge 5, you say?
Yes.
All right. Here comes the roll. Ugh, that's again, I got over again.
You got 2 success,
I
2 or
got
more
3
2 or more hits?
successes, yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. So I'm going to ask you this.
Mysterious as the dark side. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask you this. What part of you are able to suss out okay, yep, nope, I know exactly what the void voice says. That wind, that voice on the wind comes back because like now like we see you talking to people, right? Like we see you almost over like dealing with that fear of intimacy a little bit and like reaching out to people and that fawn and that brownie and that and Christina, like people are like talking to each other and like looking around and reporting things back to you. And for another moment you hear in the back of your mind, see, it's not so hard to be a commander. It's not so hard to take control of your forces. You just have to commit. You just have to be willing to use people sometimes. Sometimes people are useful, and so you use them. Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good to get what you want because you bossed people around? You're going to find Trundlehoof. I'm going to make sure of that. And I just want you to focus on how good this feels. And then suddenly the wind is gone again.
Ookie spooky.
Oh, I love evil voices.
Ugh, that was good. I
So
think
would
I'm
you like
going to
to
take
mark
that shadow.
Take that point of shadow.
I
If
think I
you
need to
get
take
to
the
5
shadow.
if you were to get to 5 shadow, you would take another point, another corruption. And if you take 3 corruption, you fall to the void and become a fallen hero.
Well, dang.
I know.
Oh boy.
So you arrive at the hut of Trundlehoof. It is actually not among the trees, it's on the ground. It is like just kind of an old stone hut. And I think there's a crowd of people with you, and like there's clearly a tension of like, so we just go in there and demand answers, right? Like we just go in there and demand it. What do you say to the crowd?
So is this like the consequence of the shadow, kind of?
No, well, no. This is because the shadow helped you. Because you did so well that the shadow has found an opportunity to like stick a knife in, you are now surrounded by an angry mob. So I guess yes. I guess the answer is yes. But you have an opportunity to address that consequence before you go in and confront Trundlehoof.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna just kind of try to calm everybody down and say, maybe I like pull out a piece of paper and I'm like, just tell me what you want me to ask him. And when I go in, I can ask him for you. He'll be less overwhelmed that way. And it will hopefully have a better outcome.
I am gonna call this a charm roll. And I think your advantage of having Christina by your side or like having your back is canceled out by the fact that the crowd is angry. So I'm going to say this is 1 dice with an objective of, we'll call it 4.
Okay. I just have 1. And have I been getting spirit for these successes? I haven't been marking it down.
You have been. So you have like 4 spirit right now.
Okay. I'm going to spend a spirit to add a dice.
You can spend multiple spirit if you like.
I'm going to just... Okay, I guess... Okay, so if I have 4, I'll spend 2 to bring it up. No, I'll spend 1 to bring it up to 2. I don't want the dark side anymore. That wasn't fun.
All right. Roll those dice.
I, Rose, the player, thinks it's interesting, but...
Whiff doesn't like it.
Exactly. I got 1 success.
All right, take a point of spirit.
Wait,
And
it was 5, right?
yeah.
I got a 5. So
all right.
is that a success? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
You are able to talk down the crowd. I think there's some initial anger, but like people calm down a little bit. Like once you kind of hand around the paper, people kind of their senses come back to them a little bit, and they write down the notes that people have written down are very heartfelt. They're very personal. They're very candid. They're very I am hurt by this.
Aww.
I was looking forward to this all year. I've traveled a great long distance to come here. Like you have a lot of very heartfelt notes.
It's I feel statements.
Exactly.
Oh, look at them. They're so good at communicating.
I know.
Healthy communication.
And you take the note and you go inside, and on every corner of Trundlehoof's house there are medals and trophies and banners and awards. This is clearly like a decorated house of someone that has achieved a lot. And you actually see him in the corner, and he's very stressed, and like he's just furiously scribbling notes, and that hum is back. It's louder than ever. That hum, that screech, that metal creaking, it's louder than ever. And it seems to be coming from in the middle of the room, a dark, think one of those metal, the metal conductor things where you put your hand on it and the hair goes out. One of those is in the middle of the room.
Oh no.
And it's like the lightning is crackling through it and it's sparkling. And like he is in the corner of the room, like not looking at it, furiously writing, and that hum is just everywhere.
Is it recognizable as somebody who has tangled with the void?
Yes. Yes, he has the look. He looks he looks tired, and like there are papers strewn all about him as if he has just been furiously creating and has just been and is like he has like this look of someone that has that he has a look of burnout about him is the best way to describe it. And like you hear over the hum just muttering of like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best. It doesn't matter that there wasn't a winner. I'm going to be the winner. I'm going to be the first ever winner of this contest, this concert. This is it. This is the winning entry right here. This is going to be the thing that makes me win because I am the best. And he like underlines it and he throws a piece of paper and he's just writing, just furiously writing and mumbling about like being the winner of a contest that no one won. Like a contest without a winner. He just wants to be that spirit of competition seems to have been simultaneously the thing that drove him to creative satisfaction, but it seems to be the thing that the void used to pull him into being, to having fallen.
Oh,
and slowly those
no.
papers are swirling around this dark orb, and like it is literal, like you watch some of those papers get swallowed up by this orb and like burned into ash. This orb is literally consuming the art and the magic and the sounds of the festival.
Okay, so I just I don't say anything right away. I think I like don't even try to be seen. Like I think I was a little bit worried that something like this might happen. So I think I even like slip in through the crack under the door or like something. I don't even know if that's possible with my kind of ethereal speck of the wind type of.
I think it is. I think you can make your way in.
Yeah, and so I am just like observing him like a fly on the wall. And I would love to figure out like which is the source. Like is it him or is it the orb?
Yeah, you're able to you're able to quickly figure out, you're able to suss it out. Like as you're looking, a lot of his notes seem to be like you see poems and you see writings, and then you see drawings of an orb and like schematics, and like you're able to pretty quickly piece together that what has happened is the void started speaking to him and he started listening about how he deserved to win because he was better, and the void taught him how to make this object that would consume art. And like you see that, and you see notes about how like if no one else participates, you'll win by default. And so like he created this art destruction engine so that no one else could create.
Oh my goodness.
He doesn't really even seem to notice that you're there, or he kind of looks up and grunts at you and keeps writing as if like he is just like, as long as the more that he writes, the more this orb feeds and the more powerful it becomes. So destroying this orb will perhaps not free him, but will at least stop free Tollin's verse.
Okay.
But as to how to destroy the orb, well, it seems to be driven by him writing.
Okay. So I'm going to try to calm him down using my Four Winds ability, but I don't know if that will work with him already being lost to the void.
I'm gonna say make me a heart roll. Make me a heart roll to use some magic to make that happen.
Yeah, like if
I'm gonna put a disadvantage on this, but you can spend spirit on it if you like.
I have to spend a spirit to use the ability, but I'll spend another one to try to make it work. I have a backup plan if it doesn't.
So you're gonna roll 4 dice. I'm gonna say 3 dice because you're rolling with one disadvantage.
I have 3 hard dice.
So I'm gonna give it 1 disadvantage because I think like he is touched by the void. Like I think it's gonna be hard to get through to him. But with that spirit, it's gonna put you back up to 3 dice.
Okay. All right. I got my dice. What's the difficulty?
Difficulty here is gonna be 5.
Okay. All right. Here we go. I rolled 3 6s.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. So like, there's a moment where it's
super critical.
That's astoundingly good. So there's a moment where that's actually this is the perfect moment.
Take a picture of this.
Please do, because I think what happens. This is the perfect like closing note. I'm going to present you with like a choice. There's a moment where it's just the two of you, and he stops writing, and for a moment, like he breaks out of it, and he's like, "I just wanted to be celebrated. I wanted to stand out. I didn't want to take everything from everybody. I wanted to be noticed." And like he says that, and like now there's pieces swirling around you. There's like trophies and medals and all of these like ribbons are twirling around you. And it's terrifying, and it's big, and it's loud, and it's scary, and this orb is like sucking things in. And then you hear the voice again. And you hear, "Don't let him off the hook. He caused this. Don't let him give you puppy eyes and let him go. He has to pay, and you have to be the one to make him pay. Give him to the orb. Give him to the weapon that he created." So the question is yours, Whiff. Do you gain the point of shadow and push him to the device, or do you spend a point of spirit and let him live?
Is that the end of the episode? Do I get to decide?
You get to decide. Yeah, you absolutely get to decide. Oh, I'm so sorry that I made... Yeah, you absolutely get to decide.
I was like, oh God, it's a cliffhanger. Let's end it there. No, I think I definitely like reach out and grab him by the shoulders. And like maybe with all the debris falling around, it's like hitting just one side. Like if it's like swirling in a circular motion, it's like hitting just one side of her, kind of like air spirity, invisible, unseen servant, you know, like it's like one of those types of vibes. So it's like hitting just one side of her and blowing off the other. So it's like half, you can see like half of her form. And so I grab him by the shoulders and I lean like real close to him. And then I let him go, and I'll spend a spirit to not throw him into the void.
And I think we see you pull him away from the orb, and like the orb like consumes the house and all of the art, and in just like what, but like that moment where you pull him, that moment of connection, listening to someone, opening yourself up to someone, like that was what it took to undo this, right? Like he wanted to be noticed, he wanted to be celebrated, he wanted to be heard, and you heard him. So what ends up happening, we see you pull him from the thing, we see the house get destroyed, all of the medals, the art, the decoration, the achievement, the accomplishments are gone, and he's left, and people are surrounding him, and we kind of see you stand in front of him, and like you go to speak and you go to ask him a question, you turn around and he is gone, and you don't know whether he fled out of malice or shame or both or neither, but like in the same way that like you turned around, that like phone turned around earlier and you were gone, now he is gone. And I think the closing visual is we see all different like fantasy vistas, all different fantasy locations. We see and we hear the music. Is Whiff among the people of Tollin's verse, or are you elsewhere when the music arrives?
I think that I'm like right at outside of Tollin's verse, like sitting by myself in a tree.
I love it, and I think that's where. And I think the last thing that we see is a gust of wind, and maybe you wince a little bit because you've had bad experiences with like gusts of wind whispering, but suddenly you hear a voice and it's different, and it's phone, and they've come to sit with you and listen to the music together, and the two of you share this moment. And that's a wrap, and that's game.
Oh, that was so sweet.
That was good. That was great. I loved it.
I loved it too.
Oh, I had a blast.
So tickled.
This was delightful. I'm so tickled.
I'm just smiling real big. I don't have a lot of words.
Me too. Oh, God. Thank you so much for coming and playing this game with me. This was lovely.
Thank you. Everybody should get this game. It's so good.
This is good. This was fun. I loved it. This was really special. Thank you so much.
This game.
So real quick, before I wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
You can just find me, most of like information about my things that I do. You can find through my Twitter at Smiley Rosie with 4 Y's at the end. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Can you picture it in your head? Okay.
I picture it in my head.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much. This was a blast. I had such a good time. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Rose for coming on the show. Whoa, what a wonderful story. What a beautiful, perfect, wonderful story we told. That was my jam. I'm here for that. Be sure to head to Kickstarter and back good, strong hands. It's a really cool game. It hits a note that I'm really, really fond of. It tells some great stories. Find a link in the show notes. Head to the Kickstarter. Back the Kickstarter for good, strong hands. And be sure to follow Rose on Twitter at SmileyRosie with 4 Ys. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/PartyOfOnePodcast. Join our Discord community at bit.ly/PartyOfOneDiscord. Head to our merch store at bit.ly/PartyOfOneMerch. And if you enjoyed the show, consider leaving us a nice review on Podchaser, backing the show on Patreon at patreon.com/JeffStormer, or donating to us on Ko-fi at kofi.com/JeffStormer. Or, alternately, if you're looking for more great podcasts, check out All My Fantasy Children, the other show that I produce every week on the One Shot Podcast Network, where every week my best friend Aaron Gatano Saez and I take a listener-submitted prompt, we spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. New episodes drop every Friday-ish at oneshotpodcast.com. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran featuring the D&D Sluggers. And the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And honestly, I think that's all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.